You look at me and think my name is Sverolina, and this right here is my. Okay, I'm done. So this is actually, I think, 4 months overdue. Okay, so long story short, 4 months ago, about 4 months ago, I filmed, I think, the story is called Storytime Becoming an Emancipated Minor. If you search it up on my channel, I filmed this story or this video about the time I went to court with my dad and my legal guardian, and I became an emancipated minor when I was 16 years old. I put out part 1, I put out part 2, and I never released part 3. That's what this is. So earlier today, I got a notification, and this person commented under part 2, "When are you releasing part 3? I'm trying to get emancipated, and I want to listen to your story." And I was like, wait a minute. Whether you actually end up getting emancipated, I hope everything works out for you. Whether you like even watch the whole video of part 3 or not, like whether you remember this moment. What? You watch my videos? I was like, what? Like I didn't realize people watch my videos. Like, that's not shade to anybody. It's just like I was very surprised, that somebody cared enough. Like my videos are very long. I don't mean for them to be. It's just I naturally talk a lot. Sorry, but I'm not. Okay, don't apologize for who you are. So yeah, but I was like really surprised that she watched my videos. So anywho, person, she, he, I'm sorry, I don't know. But this one is for you. Where I last left off, the judge was like, hold on, let me put my brain back in my head. I'm actually going to do a quick summary. If you're just popping into this video and you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm going to give you a quick summary in case you're like not wanting to go back and watch part 1 and part 2, which are both very long, very detailed, very meticulous, but very long. So if you're coming straight from part 2 and you are already caught up, you can just fast forward to this timestamp. Is it here? Is it there? Is it here? Is it everywhere? You could fast forward to the timestamp, and then I'll just continue telling the story. But if you're just now like tuning into my life, if you've never read the poetry collection called Things I Never Said Was Good, then backtrack. So the judge had just asked me why I wanted to become an emancipated minor, like why it was so importante for me to become an emancipated minor. And I was standing there, I was shaking and whatever, but I told her like pretty much what it meant to me and expressed a lot of stuff. You could go back to part 2 to listen to all that. Then she pretty much asked my dad like where he stood, like was he in favor of the petition, was he not? And my dad was like, straight up like, I'm against it, shut it down, that is my data, you cannot take my data. I'm just kidding. My dad, he's not like super expressive like that. Like I'm the one who's like a walking telenovela. My dad is not. So then my dad came back, and before he had the opportunity to express whatever he had come to terms with, yada yada yada, the judge shut him down. The judge was like, "Senor," she said, like she addressed him by his name, and she well, I don't know why I'm making this seem like this like super dramatic thing. It was a stale ass moment. But the judge was like, "I don't understand why you're a grown person like consulting with your daughter." It's like she made some point about how if my dad has to ask his children, for guidance or whatever, to like help him when it comes to decisions and stuff, then she could see even more why it would be important for me to go find my independence or whatever and just go be elsewhere. Like she tied that moment to the overall moment about me being emancipated, and I was like, aha, like I hear you, girl, I hear you right here. It was very clever. But she said some things to him, some things that resonated with my dad, and then he stood there and he was like, okay. And she was like, yeah. And he was like, okay. And I didn't understand what that meant, but they understood what it meant. All the adults in the room understood what it meant. Because next thing I know, like the lady sitting next to the judge, like on the second tier or wherever, just like on the lower level, she got up with the pen and the paper and they started talking and expressing legal terms and whatever. And then they had my dad sign the paper, the official, like, I forget what it's called. It's not the petition, it's the actual letter that I had to carry around as proof that I was an emancipated minor, because I was like 16 and shit. Yeah. So, funny enough, fireworks and shit did not go off. Excuse me, I have such a potty mouth. I don't mean to. I really don't. I don't even like it. But it's not like fireworks went off or anything. The moment just kind of remained the same. Like everyone was moving around and I just kind of stood there because I think I knew that I was supposed to be, you know, sighing in relief and feeling like everything was great, but I just felt really heavy, if I'm honest. I just kind of felt like sad. I could feel my dad's energy. I mean, he was standing right next to me. There was a space, but I could feel his energy. I could feel the heaviness. I didn't even want to look at him. And then my legal guardian turned to me and she was like, "You should say thank you to your dad." And I was just like, wow. Like she had to suggest it. I was like, I was hoping that she would be like, "Let's get out of here." No. She's empathetic and shit. So there I go again. She's empathetic and she was like, "You should turn to him and say thank you." So I put my ego down for a second and I just turned to my dad and I said something to him, and then I just hugged him and he started crying. And I've only ever seen my dad cry like one other time in my life, and that was when he found out over the phone from somebody who heard back from somebody from the islands that his mom or his dad had passed back, you know, in the Haitian earthquake, or the earthquake in Haiti. Not the most recent one, but like one of them. That was the only time I ever seen my dad cry, and that was like from a distance, you know, like I was like walking past, and I was like, "Oh shit," you know, when I realized what had happened. So he's like in my arms crying, and you could see how it would be hard for me to find it to be like a celebratory moment. This man is crying, and once again I feel guilty for thinking about myself, for considering myself when seeing like what it does to somebody else, even though like I can't help how he responds, you know, like how he responds to anything I do or say is out of my control. I just felt awful standing there in the courtroom when he's crying, and he kept saying thank you to me. He just kept saying thank you and thank you and thank you. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I should be thanking you. Like, I'm saying to him, "No, thank you, thank you." And he said thank you. And I tripped on that for the entire duration of the trip home. I think I turned to my legal guardian and I asked her like what he could be thanking me for. And she was like, "Because you're the only one who left him with dignity, and you know, like you actually like went through the system." And my dad doesn't care about no system. Like in my mind, I'm like, I don't think it was about that. But then again, that's her perspective, you know. I see my own dad through a different lens. I think now, like looking back on it, it could be that I think it could be that his thanks was due to the fact that the day I met my dad, or because I met my dad but didn't remember it because I was like a little girl, but the day I was reunited with my biological parents when I was like about 8 years old, that very day I cried in my dad's arms and begged them to take me back home. And my dad put me down and he was like, years later in the car, he told me that I broke his heart on that day because, he had just literally like flown and got me and everything and organized this shit and had these people like really come through for me and my sister to retrieve us. And here I am kicking and screaming, like, nope, like, round trip, let's go back, like, psyching up, and my dad took that shit to heart, as any parent, any person would. And I think my dad was saying thank you to me in the courtroom because I was almost 8 years old when I kicked and I screamed and I said, take me back home. I want to go home. I was 8 years old and I didn't take my dad to court and get emancipated until I was 16 years old. I left when I was 15. Let's do some math, y'all. I left when I was 15 years old, 15 and a half. So I was with my parents for a really long time, almost 8 years with them. For almost 8 years I stayed, even though I wanted to go, even though I said let me go the very first day. My dad knew the very first day I was detached, but I stayed. I gave him 8 years, and I don't think it was the best 8 years at all. For that, I'm so sorry. But I think in some way, maybe that meant the world or half a world to my dad to have at least gotten some time with me, even if it wasn't all that. Um, so yeah, I didn't say anything to my sisters, no, and I don't have like animosity towards them regarding that anymore. It's just in the moment, it was a me and my dad were here kind of thing. And I didn't grow like, okay, so here's a little bit of context. I grew up in Miami in a foster home for like 8 years, and I was raised by a woman and her daughter who was a grown woman. So the whole concept of a dad, of a man and a woman leading a household, that did not come to me until later on. So when it came to my relationship with my mom, I think that was more sour because I had already literally attached to another woman as a kid. And so when they were like, oh, this is your mom, I was like, I don't know what to tell you, because that, I was just looking elsewhere. When it came to my dad, I think I was more open because I had never had a dad before. And so in that courtroom, I think I just held on to my dad to sort of say, like, this isn't, adiosito forever. This isn't even me saying goodbye at all. This is just me making moves. That's all. That's all. Okay, so that is the story of the time I was in the kitchen making eggs, in the corner eating ham, in the sink mixing butter. Okay, I'm done. I hope that was helpful for you. I don't know what that's all about. But yeah, I hope that was helpful for you. Again, good luck on your journey, whoever you are. Thank you so much for commenting and letting me know that you actually listened. I was like, what? I was very touched by that. I don't know. I guess the last thing I'm thinking in my mind when I put something like a snippet of my life, my stories, whatever, out there is that someone's actually going to be finding a little bit of themselves or their own narrative in it. So thank you for showing me that does happen, or it has happened. And yes, I hope you enjoy. Thank you.
You are